Welcome to this week's community class. I'm really excited today. I have a community guy with us. There's a guy who's been in the community, he's been in these classes, and he does a lot with Podmatch. So I'm really excited to welcome Nathan. So Nathan, welcome. Glad you're here with us, man.
Thanks for having me on here, Alex. Excited to get to teach some skills, hopefully.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I'm pretty pumped for this. Real quick though, before we get ahead of ourselves, I'd like to hear a little about your background in this topic that we're talking about. So we're talking about launching a website for your business less than 2 hours. I don't want to get into any of the specifics yet, but just why is this something that's in your background? Can you just kind of give us a little bit more about you?
Yeah, so well, my entrepreneurial journey, I guess, started when I was 6 years old. That's when we moved over to Hungary, and my parents downloaded a widget on the desktop that showed like the exchange rates from Hungarian forints to US dollars to Bulgarian stutinkis to different ones. And so then I would look at that every day and memorize it and just like think about how much I could make if I was changing like different amounts at different times. And so then that kind of geared myself to entrepreneurship. But then later on, like after a few different ventures, like kind of the typical ones like drop shipping and everything, I wound up wanting to create a website for local people here down in the Tampa area of Florida and helping them to have a place to promote their goods on there. And so then it took me months to kind of figure out like exactly how I wanted to do that, because I kind of suffered from the same perfectionism as you've mentioned before, and that kind of killed me in a way because there's so many options out there of like how to go about it. And so once it wasn't that website that kind of taught me everything. That taught me a lot, and that taught me along the way to creating what I've created now. And so just like realizing that need there, that man, if I had just like gone ahead and created this website using the skills, using the tools that are the most appropriate for the job, like the best ones out there, if someone had just like guided my hand and showed me how to do this, then I could have been making a greater impact on everybody already. So I think that's a cool thing for people to be able to learn how to do and kind of get over that self-sabotaging thing, like, oh, I don't know how to create a website, I don't know how to code, I don't know how to do all these things. So I feel like that's one thing that helps kind of entrepreneurs get their foot in that door and to impact a lot of other people that way as well.
100%, man. I'm not an expert in this space, but I could have used you as well when I first got started, just like you could have used yourself early on. And I say it because the first time I spun up a website, it took me probably about 2 months to do, like to get it all done. And I recently, for a friend, told him I'd spin up a website for him, just real quick. I'm saying spin up a website, basically just do the things we'll talk about today. And it took me maybe 4 hours total, like when I was helping that person, showing them everything. But I just thought back, I'm like, man, this took me 2 months of hard work and watching videos and research and deleting things and starting over. And now I look back, I'm like, man, I wish I would have known this stuff. But what you're going to share today is going to be very valuable because it helps someone get a huge head start on this topic. Real quick though, before we jump into it, I was on your Podmatch profile and realized that your profile picture has you and Tim Tebow in it. You got to share how, why. Do you know Tim? He lives in Jacksonville, Florida. I don't remember exactly where you're at or if you're around here.
Yeah, I live in Lakeland.
Okay.
That was actually like 3 weeks ago. I went to Florida College. It's a small Christian college in the Tampa area, and we like every year they have what they call a leadership dinner, and they get some big person in to come and do like a talk there. And so I had written a book like a year and a half ago, and I have Tim Tebow in the book. And so I brought it to him, and like everybody else is like asking him for autographs and everything. And I waited till we didn't have our food yet, but we were like kind of just sitting around on the tables. And I just walked up to his table and I handed him the book and I said I autographed it for him. I wrote in there, to Tim Tebow, my biggest fan, at 245 pounds, 6'3", nobody comes close. And so I asked him if I could get a picture with him. We started talking about it. So
That's cool, man. I love that. It's a cool story to hear. Yeah, and he's a big guy. I've served with him locally here in our city a few different times, and the last time I saw him, I went to shake his hand because that's just usually what I do, and he like hit my hand out of the way and hugged me, but I felt like a little child getting hugged by a massive giant. Anyway, big guy for sure. Not playing football right now, but still just massive. But anyway, so I want to get into our topic here today. So we're going to be talking about how to launch a website for your business or podcast within 2 hours. And first off, I want to ask a question about websites in general. Does it really help? And I should probably rephrase that because everyone says that, yeah, you need a website, but why? What is your thoughts on the reasoning for having a website in today's market?
yeah, so I think that this is actually a perfect time for this episode, this training, because not long ago, like as I'm sure everybody on here knows, Facebook went down, and a lot of people are super reliant on Facebook solely for their businesses, and they don't have like kind of other backup plans because they have thousands of followers on there, and they're like, well, if I need to reach them, then I'll be able to just like message them, like write them through there. And that this hopefully opened a lot of people's eyes to the benefits of owning your own website, because you're able to have a place, a platform that people come, and you're able to share more information. You're able to create that community feel, and you're also able to own that piece of real estate. Like you don't own your part of Facebook. Like Facebook controls pretty much everything on there. And so having your own website and being able to have like pages where you create email lists and you have that as your own, you're able to not only create that community, but you're also able to share when you want to. You're able to just not have to worry about like algorithms. Oh, are people going to see this post? Or are people going to like kind of get this information? But you're able to email your list whenever you want to. You're able to have people have a place where you put all your things. Like you can have Facebook by all means, like you can have a link from your website to that, but people are going to look you up. Like whenever I'm considering matching with somebody on Podmatch, like I always do more than just read their profile. I always like go find more information about them. Like I want to know their story and see if that's going to be like a real connection. And besides that, just see like exactly how they're serving their audience and make sure it's not an overlap. But I'm always looking for their websites. Like there's people are always going to be Googling that. And so having that, just that platform and being able to test everything, being able to like do A/B test, being able to just figure out exactly like what your audience wants through something that you own and you can completely control.
Something that you said that I think is really key and kind of it's the main thing for me personally. I just think it's a huge credibility piece when someone can Google my name or my podcast name and it can come up with my own website. Either of those things, it shows up like, oh, Alex Sanfilippo, here he is, going past social media. Now, social media is great for what it is, but it is, like you're saying, it's rented space. You don't actually own it. When it goes down because it's its own platform, right? I actually had a friend who, thankfully, he's very well off. He's okay. His business still does really well, but he decided to take a shortcut when he was launching like an alpha test or beta test of a business he was doing. So he didn't do a website for it. He just built a Facebook page. And he happened to launch his campaign and all of his marketing strategy the same day that Facebook crashed. And it contributed to about $100,000 of loss for him. And he's like, I should have built a website. He's like, that was a huge mistake. Learning lesson. Again, he's fine. He has big businesses, but that's just to, again, reinforce the fact that there's nothing he could have done about that. It was out of his control. It wasn't something that he actually owned at all. But anyway, some good points here that you're already sharing. And I want to go ahead and jump into just kind of an overview of how all this works. Like, this is going to be the technical stuff for a minute here, so everyone has to kind of buckle up a little bit. But I think it's important to help people understand, because with websites, there's things like hosting services, content management systems, themes, domain names, like all these different pieces. And this is where people really get stuck. It's because it's not just like, here's a website. It's not just a one and done thing. There's different elements. So can you break these down for us and try to keep it as high level as you can so we can all kind of follow along the way? Nathan, I think you're good at that, by the way. I think you've shared it enough that you can share it in English. If you ask a true developer, about this stuff, they speak another language and no one can follow. But I think that you've got this. So let's go ahead and hear what you have to share on that point.
Yeah, so I like to kind of have this as an overview, as like an analogy, because that's how I learn the best. That's how like I've been taught a lot of things, and I think we can all relate to that, even if we don't completely understand the technicals at first. So what I like to use as an analogy is like, think about building a house, and the website in this area is the house. And so you want to you need to have land before you build that house, like unless you're Elon Musk, and then he'll figure out a way around that. But for our purposes, you find that house, which in this case, as you mentioned, is the hosting service. And so that's where like all your building takes place. And then connected to that, the house, like the fundamentals, the structure of the house, is your content management system, which a lot of us know as WordPress. We've heard that thrown around, but really what that is like the place that all your rooms are housed in that area. That's the rooms in this particular analogy are the pages on our site. And depending on like what your needs, you will be having different rooms in there, different pages for whatever your particular service is and however will serve your audience best. But there's just the basic fundamentals of that house that every house needs, which will typically be like the about page, the home page, the services page, maybe a frequently asked questions page. There's the fundamentals of that house. And so at this point, we have our land that our house is built on, we have the structure, we have the rooms, but we want the inside of those rooms to not look like an insane asylum, because at this point it's just like white walls, it's just concrete. And so that's where our theme comes in. And our theme is just the how we customize the rooms, the inside of the rooms. And that's with like I like to use Divi, because there's different things that I look for in a theme, which is just like the mobile optimization, the ease of that, and the way of which you're able to later on, if you want to use code, which I use code on different things if I just want a custom design or a custom thing. But for the most part, people don't really need the code for a good looking website, because there's hundreds of different child themes that you can download for Divi to upload onto there. And those just like have different layouts already. So just to recap, we have our house, which is our content management system, and that is sitting on our hosting service. And that's where it's able to reside. That's the land that it's on. And then it's designed with the theme. But at this point, we're not able to get our 5 Amazon packages a day because we don't have that address for them to send it to. And our web address, like you may hear it called different things, URL or domain name, or just like any other thing that represents that. But what it is your web address. That's the name of your company usually, and then .com. And that is how people are able to find you. People are able to type that into Google or the bar at the top. They're able to find your website, find your house. But at this point, you don't have roads to your house. Your friends aren't able to come over unless they're like driving a 4x4. Like you need those roads for more people to be able to access you. And by roads, I mean anything that has your address on it that links to your website. And that could be, at this point, like that could be Facebook or LinkedIn, or even on your Podmatch profile, like where you have that link to your website. These are roads that make it easy for people to get from wherever they are on the internet to your house. And so that's how they kind of all work together, like at a bird's eye view angle. And so that's how your house is created. That's how it's customized. That's how the four fundamentals kind of work together.
Man, I love this analogy. Again, I could have used this years ago when I got started because figuring out what you just shared, it sounds like a lot. And we're going to kind of break it down a little bit. And Andrew brought up a good question. He's looking for maybe a bit of an example. And I'm thinking we can actually give real names of where you can do these things. But just kind of recap, the foundation of everything is the hosting service. Similar to podcasting, you can't just appear on Apple and on iTunes, right? You actually have to have a host first. For me, it's Buzzsprout. For other people, it might be Libsyn or whatever it might be. You have to have a hosting service for your website too. And then the actual house itself is the content management system like WordPress, which all of us have heard before. And then the actual paint, decorations, all that is a theme, so you can kind of customize it. And then the address of it is the domain name. And the last thing is getting some inbound links to your website. That's how you can actually create roads to it. I think that's really beneficial. Now, just to let's just imagine we're going to use WordPress. So a hosting provider, do you have a specific one that you'd recommend people to go to? You say this one's affordable, it's a good one to use, and we'll just kind of walk through each of these steps here.
Yeah, so the most affordable one, just depending on like people's price ranges, is Bluehost, and they're the cheapest ones. They have like all the fundamentals, everything that you need, and they always say they're on sale, but it's always $295 or $395 like on their website, and they're always like, oh, we're 50% off, but it's been like that for the past 3 years, so no rush on that.
Right, and that's bluehost.com, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's good to also know that the little secret of like you don't have to buy it today, right? So
Yeah.
And they actually now using WordPress, Bluehost, I don't know if they're specific for WordPress, but they can spin up a like WordPress installation as it's called. So you don't even have to touch anything. You can basically get the hosting and say, build me a WordPress website. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of built in there, right there.
Very nice.
And
okay.
that's the most affordable one. They have 24/7 customer support, but their customer support is really hit or miss. If you want to spring for a few more dollars a month, I would recommend SiteGround, because SiteGround is a lot faster, and it has like the same basics, but you can get more advanced with it if you want to. But especially with the newest release month or two ago, with the way that Google tests your site for the user experience, the speed is very critical on that. And I wound up switching a while ago from Bluehost to SiteGround because of that. And if you ever look, like if you're using Google Chrome, I don't know if the other ones do it, they probably do, but at the top where you can see it buffering, if it's going from the counterclockwise, then that time is just how long it takes for it to get through like the hosting. And so like that's how fast the host is. And then when it starts going clockwise, then that's how fast your website yourself is. And so that's one way, like you can see, like whenever I switched over, it was like 3 seconds different on each page.
That's
just
huge.
from
3 seconds to
yeah.
Google is like a lifetime.
Oh yeah.
No, that's great. SiteGround I've actually used before, and I like them. Their customer service they have a really good customer service team. They're very smart. And maybe it's just me. When it comes to websites, I always have a lot of questions. So I found that helpful. I paid the couple extra dollars just to have that access alone. But yeah, the speed also means a lot to Google there. Okay, so I want to jump into the theme next. So we kind of covered the hosting. You talked about Bluehost and SiteGround, and then the installation. Both of them can, if I'm not mistaken, either one of them can spin up a WordPress installation for you, right? Like there shouldn't be any time where you have to do that manually. Am I right in saying that?
There is a way that they will do it for you for an extra charge.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
For like if you're getting your website there, but it really doesn't take that long to install it yourself. And I would recommend that because I mean, you can just Google it and like there's a YouTube video on it.
Yeah, you mind dropping a link to that? That'd be helpful if you had a link to where you can do that, and I'll put that in the show notes as well. You don't need to find it this minute, but that'd be helpful for everyone just to know exactly how to do that. I've actually never done it myself, but that's interesting. If I knew it was easy, I would have just done it. But learning from you here today, man. I think the next part that we want to get into now is the actual theme. This is what maybe confuses some people because you are talking about Divi, which is like a theme package, but basically once you have WordPress installed, you can easily go to WordPress's website, wordpress.org, and you can look up their themes, and with a click of a button, you can install it on your website. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, it just uses a API key, then you download the plugin, and then you're able to just like, it integrates right there. Then you download the themes from that. So it's all very easy. And I created a PDF like that walks everybody through all the steps if they want it for free.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. We'll put
But
that in the show notes as well. But thank you for that.
and so yeah, the reason that I like Divi over like the other ones like the Elementor and everything. And I guess at this point is a good time to talk about like I'm sure everybody's seen the Squarespace and the Wix and everything, just like the advertisements. If you have talked close to your phone and the phone is like picking it up and telling you all these advertisements that they think you want. The reason that they're spending all that money on advertisements is because it's not as good as WordPress. And there's a few reasons for that. And that's because, I mean, one, the price is a lot more if you actually break it down about how much the hosting is, because WordPress is open source, which means it's free. Like it's free to the public, like nobody really owns it in a sense. And so it's a lot cheaper, but also there's a lot more things that you can do with a WordPress website because there's over 50,000 different plugins, as opposed to with the last time I looked at Wix was a couple months ago, and there was like 250 plugins. And so just like for ease of use and for integrating it with different things, like the WordPress is a lot better. And also because so many more people use WordPress, there's a lot more videos walking you through like the different things. But Divi is what I've tried a lot of different ones. Like I've tried Elementor, I've tried like a lot of the popular ones, but Divi is by far the best customer support. You can buy it for a lifetime, which with a lot of like the premium ones you can, but a lot of them you cannot. It's like a monthly recurring thing. And it also has about 300 different like complete website templates that you can choose from, and you can download those right there and use it as that website and just customize it to your own liking. Or you can choose different pages from different things, just like keeping in mind the consistency throughout your website. So that coupled with the fact that you're able to just at the click of a button, you're able to optimize for what it looks like on your mobile device or your laptop or your iPad, whatever, or do them all at the same time. So just like those are the biggest things that I've found the most useful about Divi.
So Divi is kind of like the big WordPress theme. They've done a good job of keeping it really optimized for mobile, for desktop, and also keeping the speed up, which is really, again, really important to search engines, not just Google, all of them. But something I wanted to have you separate real quick that scared me for a long time. I always thought that if I changed my theme, it was going to remove my content. But your content, including blog posts, pages, all of that is not connected to the theme. Is that correct? Like if I switch out the theme, my content doesn't disappear. It's all still going to be there. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. All the content will still be there, and WordPress will do its best to kind of change it with the theme, but there's probably going to be like just a few like minor details, just like aesthetically about how the change comes over. But I I mean, I've never had a problem with that. I've tried it multiple times, but I just like I always back it up just in case, because I always like having that extra insurance there. So that's another reason that I have SiteGround, is because like I have those like daily backups just in case some fluke happens, because you don't want to lose all your work.
Yeah, so I'm not a coder, everybody, but at one point I got a little bit overly confident when it came to WordPress, and I was using SiteGround, thankfully, but I changed something in the code, and my whole website just went white. I mean, everything was gone. I couldn't even get to the back end. So I went and just emailed them real quick. Thankfully, it was early in the morning, and they had just done the backup like a couple hours before that. And I was like, can you please restore my backup? They restored the backup and I was back to a clean slate. And then I found somebody like Nathan to help me instead of trying to do it myself again. But I think that having that backup is really important because it gives you the flexibility of being able to kind of try some things and you're not going to ever hurt anything too much. So it's good to have a reliable host of some sort that is doing those backups. So far this has been really interesting. Now I want to get into real quick here, just because I think we've kind of covered some of it, but you talked about not using necessarily Wix or anything like that. Somebody brought up early on, and let me scroll up and see who this was who brought the question because I think it's very valid. It was Deb who talked about how companies like Buzzsprout or Libsyn, they give you a little website that has all of your podcast episodes already on it. That shouldn't separate. That should not replace a website for ourselves, right? Like that's something that we should have in addition, or does that work if you just have that? What are your thoughts on that?
So I'll have to ask a question because
That's fine.
I'm not
Right,
a
you're not a
podcast.
host. Yeah.
Yeah. So with that is just the podcast episodes itself. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's like an RSS feed that's
Oh, okay.
public. And I
Okay.
can send you so you can, if you need to look at it real quick, I can send you a link real
I
fast
think
here in the chat just so you can look at what we're looking at. And I'm just sending you creatingabrand.buzzsprout.com and you can take a look at that real quick. And someone's even quicker. Deb, thank you. That was fast. So you can just kind of see what we're talking about here,
yeah.
because this a lot of podcasters do, not just with Buzzsprout. Almost any of the hosting providers will give you something like this, and a
Okay.
lot of podcasters use this as their main website.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen those whenever I was like going through Podmatch and looking at people's websites. But yes, I like the ease of the RSS is good, but I've also looked into this like for different podcast hosts themselves, and WordPress makes plugins that drag those in just like this does. And so having your own website, like I would say, would be, instead of like, I mean, obviously if you have this and you don't have the a few hours to build a website at that time, like that's fine. But I would say like ultimately, if you have that time to dedicate to making a website, because you're able to have this as well, but you're also able to kind of own that again. Like at this point, if they're building it for you, then you're not really owning that that information. Like you're, like you said, like you're more renting it, and you're at the beck and call of like whatever they decide. And on these, like I don't see like an about page, or like I don't see like those things that really kind of humanize who you are and like the different ways. Like they have the, at the top, like I see the different social medias, but there's not like a way to get more information like about you from that website. And you're losing out on a lot more too, because you're not able to have those ways for your email list to grow through this, which is huge. And it's the really the main way. It's like I was reading the other day, it was like 20 times more likely to have people read an email from you than it is for them to read a tweet or a Facebook post, because of like the algorithms and how it's personalized to your inbox. So I would say that having a website is a lot more important than having this, like in the long run.
It's a good point, man. And we're going to have to end pretty soon here because there's a lot of questions coming through, and I want people to be able to have some good discussion time with you. But before we do that, I want to make sure that I get this entire overview here, because the way we kind of titled this thing was how to launch a website for your podcast within 2 hours. Can you kind of explain how you can do all this that quick? I know we've hinted at most of it, but just to kind of give us all an overview before we end and open up to some general conversation for the whole community here.
Yeah. So basically, like to kind of walk through it quickly, the first step would be to have that hosting service, and different ones like have domain names built into the price. Like they have it like get your domain name for a year for free, which you would do at the beginning of that sign up process, which like whatever your company's name is .com, hopefully. Or if you have to be more creative, then you can kind of go that route as well. And so you're kind of taking care of two things at the same time. You're taking care of your web address and you're also taking care of your hosting service. And then at that point, you would have that WordPress right there. And it could be built in, but sometimes you'll have to kind of download it and walk through that, which is a simple process as well. And then once you have that, you go over to elegantthemes.com, which is where Divi is. That's the people who own Divi. And you would go through, purchase that, then go back to your website and use the API key that Divi has. Like it says it at the top, like where to get your API key. Copy that, put it over there, and then you're able to download any of the templates that you like. Like there's, I think 250 plus templates now. They make one every week that they send out and kind of mix and match the pages. But I would be sure to make sure like the consistency is there through your brand, like the colors and the fonts and everything, because different themes are going to have different fonts. And that's just one thing to be mindful of. And at that point, you'll have like your house, you'll have your content management system, you'll have your theme uploaded, like you'll have the pages laid out. It makes it super simple. And then you'll go over to like the left side and add whatever pages you want to the top menu. And then you'll just start adding whatever content that you want, whatever words, like your about page, your basic homepage and everything. And that should just take a couple of hours.
Man, again, what you just taught here took me, the first time I did this, months to understand, like to actually figure it out, but to understand it just took forever. But just to go through those again, first off, you find your hosting provider. The servers that you can use, SiteGround is one of them that we mentioned. And I know that they're one of the companies that will give you a free domain for a year. But even after that year, they don't cost very much. I mean, they're almost, it's $30 a year or less. I mean, I think I was paying $12 for one of mine or something like that. So it's $1 a month to own your domain. But when you buy it together, they'll automatically like connect everything. So there's no like work for you. And then once you do that, they'll install WordPress for you. If they don't, it only takes a few minutes. Like you said, we can Google that, which is really easy. And fun fact about WordPress, by the way, anything you want to know about WordPress that you're doing, there is a YouTube video about it. It's almost crazy how much the community has contributed because that's kind of the way WordPress is built. So if there's something you're stuck on, go to YouTube and type it in and someone has done a video on it. Anyway, so once you get WordPress installed, go to elegantthemes.com, get Divi. They'll also explain how to install it really quick. I know they have a very easy tutorial. And then after that, use your API key to get it installed. They'll show you how to do that. And then you add the template you like, adjust it, tweak it, get it the way you like, add your pages, add your content. After you do that, you might do some more tweaking and adjusting. Just don't chase perfection while you're doing that, because then you just turned a 2-hour process into a 2-year process. But man, these steps that you just gave, this is something I needed to hear once again. Like it's good for me to remember like how to do this stuff. But thank you for laying it out that way, Nathan. That was really helpful.
Of course.
Good stuff, man. All right, cool. So we're going to open up Q&A in just a minute here, and we'll end the recording. But before we do that, Nathan, can you tell everyone where they can find out more about you?
Yeah, they can go over to my website, and like I said, I have the free PDF over there at lemonlaunch.com/2 our website, and kind of walks through like what we talked about today.
All right, man, that's great. Sorry, I was writing it down for myself there. It took me a minute to get back on. I wrote that down. I also have some other links, including your Podmatch profile I'll send, and we'll get into some maybe affiliate stuff if we have time today, because you have a very interesting course on that as well. But anyway, Nathan, thank you again for being here. I really appreciate your time, man.
Thanks for having me.